Hello, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me in another of my little monologue ditties. It's been a bit of a frustrating couple of days for me, and I apologise for not posting terribly much. The thumbnail or the title of this it took the pain right away, and I want to tell you a story. Who said that? Max Bygraves, I think it was. I want to tell you a story, a personal story, because I want to tell you about something that really did help, and you might find it helps you. I don't know, and I'm not paid to say this, but you'll know that we have Biggleswick Farm, and you'll know that Julia and I have been working tirelessly on there, come rain or shine, to try and get things organised for next year when we do our main planting. And it's all going very well, and thank you very much for those people who've gone to the English Couple channel and followed getting back to the land and the whole process really of starting afresh. And we don't claim to be experts, of course, and I think in many ways I hope that that is an inspiring aspect, that we're giving it a try, that you don't have to be an expert. We plan to make mistakes because that's how you learn, but you do need to look after your body, and being fit when you go back to the land is something you discover is absolutely essential. You know, it's very easy to cut yourself on the implements. It's very easy to strain yourself or to trip and break a bone and those sort of things. And when you have time off and you're in the middle of a project, that can be not only frustrating or painful, but it can put you back on your plan. So looking after your body is absolutely important and paramount. And how many people don't really take responsibility for their bodies, and they immediately think, oh, there's a twinge there, go to the GP, get some pharmaceuticals, and that's it. Well, my story is that about 10 days ago now, when we had the hard frost, I went into the van to pick something up, which we had parked just outside our little piece of God's earth, and unfortunately I slipped. And in the back of my van is a hay fork, a two-pronged hay fork that has two prongs that bend slightly upwards. Well, as I slipped and lost my balance, I headed straight towards this. Now, as you know, I have already lost one eye. The fear of losing a second eye, of course, is quite paramount. Plus, I didn't want to be impaled on my own hay fork. So, in order to do that, you know, you automatically, without thinking, twist and try and fall in a different way. Now, the van had all sorts of bits and pieces in it. So as I fell, I did fall and clunk and twisted, I think, a muscle quite badly, right inside my thigh, of all places. Well, at first, I didn't really think too much about it. But over the last few days, this muscle has started to throb intently, and I've been hobbling. Now I thought, oh well, I'm a grown-up, I can fight my way through this. I'm not going to take any painkillers and pharmaceuticals. And also we had so much to do, and we were heading off to the land and I had to drive. But this injury, this muscle, was becoming more and more obviously a problem and was causing me pain. But not only did it cause me pain, which I was sort of rejecting, if you like, silly me, because that's the body's way of saying, hey, you need to do something about this. But also, I was finding that I couldn't sleep terribly well. In fact, as I tried different positions at night, driving the lovely Julia, my partner, mad, I found that any position that the leg went in was absolutely excruciating. And I'd get into a position for about 5 minutes and then suddenly it would really, really hurt, and I'd try and shift. And because I was trying to avoid putting any pressure on this particular muscle, I was using my arms to lift me, and my other leg and my back and various things. So in other words, they were being put under strain because the muscles that were normally would do these things had been very severely tested. And so what was I going to do? Well, I was basically losing a lot of sleep. I'd get up in the night and I'd try and sit down, and anybody who's had this sort of stuff will know how excruciating it is and how frustrating. And then, of course, if you don't have any sleep, you start to get very irritable, you get tetchy, and you find that the next day you have no energy because you haven't slept, even though I was taking things like magnesium and iodine, vitamin C and all the usuals. And I have to say a big thank you to Fiona, she knows who she is, who sent some tinctures down, or ointments, but they only just arrived this afternoon, all the way from Scotland. Natural herbal remedies that she relies on a lot. But as I say, they didn't arrive. Now, I was getting more and more frustrated because we were alerted. What day is it today? I'm recording this Thursday, so this is going out on Friday. We were alerted on Tuesday that the trees, we've got 150 bare root trees, which are about 2 foot in height, for our perimeter boundary hedge, things like hawthorn, blackthorn, and various other fruiting trees were now about to be delivered. And the thing is, they're dry, because if you transport wet stuff, it's a lot heavier and costs more. So they're dry. They had to come out after the frost so that they were dormant, and then they would be placed into the ground as quickly as possible. Well, I was waiting for the courier to deliver this yesterday all day. Didn't arrive, which, as you know, is frustrating, isn't it? And then today, up until about 5 to 7 in the evening, did the shipment actually arrive of these rather beautiful plants, although they'd spent 2 days out of sunlight, in a van, in a warehouse, etc. And they desperately needed some water. So they're now just sitting in the bath, having their first drink for a while, but I must get them in the land tomorrow. So I was forced to have 2 days convalescence, as it were, because I'm just somebody who says, look, let's put the pain and the problem to one side and just get on with things. Well, it became obvious that that wasn't going to happen, and this pain was not going away. Now, I've spoken to you guys before about a product that we were sent, and we've spoken to the chap who runs the business, and I got in touch with him and I said, look, this hemp oil that you do, is it any good for pain relief? We've been taking the sort of small doses just as an everyday medicinal supplement, I suppose. And he said, yes, but you're probably not taking the right amount. So he had sent a selection of stuff, and we thought it was beneficial, and we'd promoted it on the show and what have you. And so he said, look, take a much higher amount. And so I did. Now, I'm not somebody who uses these sort of things, but I'm beginning to learn, as many of us are, that some of these remedies that have been around for millions of years have actually been beneficial to mankind for a long, long time, and the wise women of the village would know about these things. But of course, we've become so dependent on others for our medicines, and particularly doctors and pharmaceuticals, and they're not trained, it would seem to me, in some of the remedies which will really work. So rather than taking manufactured chemicals, which have all sorts of things in it and side effects, and they tell us they have side effects, so that's not a made-up thing, I would increase quite severely the dosage that I'm having, because this CBD oil, you can't overdose on it. I mean, if you can take silly proportions, of course, but I mean within a reasonable threshold. So what I'm using, I'll put it on the screen, I don't know if that'll focus. I've been taking, so these are 50, but I've been taking like 100, and I can tell you that these CBD oils, the Indoka ones, with the formula that they have perfected, it just took the pain right away. And not only that the muscle relaxed, and suddenly, oh my goodness, your whole body is tense when you have pain, and you don't realize your shoulders are hunched, your arms and everything. And because in order to move, I'm having to use other parts of my body. Suddenly, I was free of that tension. The pain eased very rapidly, and the muscle I could feel relaxed, and I was almost walking normally. And now that sounds like a miracle, doesn't it? And so that's why really I wanted to tell you this. And if you've been a follower of my show, we've been sent many things over the time, and I've never made, unless it's actually personal to me, these sort of personal recommendations. You know, sometimes we'll say, well, we've been sent this, we've tried it, it's very good, da da da. But this one just has blown me away. And obviously there are other CBD products out there, and you can choose whichever ones you want. But I can tell you that these were fantastic. Now, that was this morning. At lunchtime, I had another couple, and that's seen me through to 7 o'clock as I record this. And I feel so much better, because I was absolutely worried about what we were going to do tomorrow on the Biggleswick farm, because we need to get these plants in the ground. So that means digging. We've cleared an area, but we've got to dig the holes and plonk them in. And that is a lot of effort and strength, and of course using a spade and what have you, and bending down and all of that. But I feel really confident, and I'll update you on this. And if you follow the English couple, no doubt we'll mention it there in whichever episode it is. You'll see whether I manage it or not. But certainly throughout the rest of the day, it has been a pain-free experience, and that's, you know, I cannot recommend it highly enough. Now, a lot of people will know about this this type of medicinal plant and its various uses, and I'd heard about it many times in the past. I always thought it was associated with rope, and of course I've had a couple of guests on talking about it. But when you experience it firsthand, it really does blow your mind away. So this is CBD oil, which is not the one that has the psycho, you know, the sort of, hey man, drifting off into sort of dreams world. And I'm not saying anything for or against that, but this is very much for inflammation and pain, the CBD oil, as well as an overall keeping your body working, because we have, and I'm going to get this wrong, endocannabinoid receptors in our body, just like we have the nicotine receptors in our body. And these endocannabinoid receptors really are there for our benefit. And again, like so many things that have been kept, shall we say, out of the mainstream narrative, because if only people realised, I suppose, that you plant the seeds of a hemp plant, eat the leaves, most of life's pain problems that we might head off to the doctor for would disappear. Now, you know, that's an opinion. That I'm not saying that's fact, but next year, Julia and I on the Biggleswick farm stuff will be planting some hemp, and we'll keep you updated on that. But anyway, if you're interested in the Endoca products, they have all sorts of different things, as well as multivitamins, or a whole range of different vitamins, different strengths, different things. I can tell you they're off-grid, they are totally organic, and they come in all sorts of different strengths. And as far as I can tell, perfectly safe and quite miraculous. So I wanted to share that with you. Now, moving on from that, just to let you know that if you're still waiting for books, they are on their way. I have been staggering down, limping down to the post office. It's about half a mile from my house, and delivering them there. So they should all be up to date pretty much. There might be a few that are still waiting, and I shall probably now not get to the post office until Monday. Because the weekend's going to be busy with these wonderful plants, and I'm hoping that they will survive their little time in the van and a warehouse. But at least the ground is soft. It's been raining, so the ground is soft. It'll be wet. They'll go in, and we can get them in, and hopefully they'll start bearing some fruit in a few years' time, which will be wonderful to see. Good for the wildlife. And that's what we want. Good for the wildlife, and also available for tinctures and things. I will be trying our friend Fee's wonderful ointments as well. So thank you so much for sending those. And I appreciate all the other comments regarding the video I made recently about where's the future of this channel going. I think it's important more than ever to highlight the positive things in our world, the things that are of benefit to one another, sharing things like this, a personal story, and showing and demonstrating that we do need to take back responsibility for our lives, and that perhaps we have allowed authority figures to supply things for us, and we've perhaps taken a bit of a back foot. It is important to keep our bodies 100% healthy, as best we can by eating the right kind of foods, etc., drinking the right kind of water, but also our minds, which of course is fed by the bodies, and our soul in the right kind of vibrations and with a positive outlook. And I'm pleased to say that this has been the case in what would have been, and has been for a short period of time, a very frustrating time. But I can't thank the lovely people at Endoka for giving me the advice necessary in order for me to change what was a miserable time into an absolute pleasurable time. If you're interested in my book, Biggleswick, The Town That Wouldn't Comply, do email me, richard@vobes.com, and just say you'd like to buy a copy of the book, whatever, and I will send you, as soon as I can, a email by return which tells you how to buy it, and I will get them out as quickly as possible. I think there's still time before Christmas, so have no worries on that front. But in the meantime, I'll let you go now. Take care, look after yourselves, and we'll be doing more videos, of course, from the English couple and my channel, from, as much as I can, from the land, because it's just so wonderful to be out there in nature. I can't tell you, to be away from the stresses and strains of the towns and cities, to be out there in this wonderful piece of God's earth that we happen to be, or happen to have found ourselves on. So why not enjoy it? Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you very soon.